Part 2. September 16, 2010, Robin serves me with an OSC, order to show cause, filed September 15th to appear in court the very next day. Her co-worker, Teresa Sexton, is with Robin, and while they're both on the county time clock, serves me in front of my son at his school as I'm walking him to class. Obscene. September 17th, 2010, the next day. Hearing with Judge Bigelow. Through mutual agreement, James Kramer is no longer my attorney that morning. He proved to be ineffective and spineless. Robin is asking the court to void my contract with Tomatea Groves and to evict him and his associates from the property. This is just prior to the autumn harvest, and Robin has made no objections till now to the lease she has known about since spring. The judge denies her requests. October 20th, 2010. I offer the court a 28-page declaration detailing the full range of malice and mischief that Robin has undertaken to date. I offer to the court that a simple 8-minute videotape will tell the court everything it needs to learn about Robin's intention to cut me off completely from my children, and that she will conspire to commit perjury against the courts, against perjury, against anything, is the quote, with her mother, to claim that I molest my son, and that she will get other people to make allegations against me. That's her trick, is to get other people to do it. Robin will later and henceforth identify this declaration as the manifesto. She immediately files a response asking the court to run an experiment with custody of the children as control variable to see if they benefit from not having a father. Her detailed reasoning is at least bizarre, possibly psychotic, and marks her next attempt to cut me off completely from my children through the court, using the hand of the court to wield the blade. October 22, 2010, at hearing with Judge Molly Bigelow, Robin states in open court, Your Honor, quote, Your Honor, this man is so dangerous, I am asking for full custody of both children immediately, end quote. She asks the judge to order a psychological evaluation of me. Jill Chipman's report has been submitted, and Judge Bigelow summons her to the podium and asks Jill, Do you think Mr. McStay needs a psych eval? Jill shakes her head and says no. Robin's request for custody is denied. Her request for a court-ordered psych eval is denied. Hearing is scheduled for testimony. Trinity Court Clerk Rosanna McCall later drafts the minute order, and while showing that Robin made such requests, fails to report the judge's denials or Jill's statement. I ask her to rewrite the minutes to reflect this important milestone, and she does so. I retain both filed copies of these 2-minute orders, reflecting 2 different sets of facts on the same day. February 7, 2011. And that won't be the last time that the court clerks sided routinely in favor of Robin, not doing their job, lying, omitting. February 7, 2011. 3 hours of contested hearing. Rosie Myers highlights the day's testimony parade by beginning to allude that she suspects me of sexual abuse of Jackson, just the way Robin said she would. My new attorney, and by far the most intelligent and most ethical, David Perrine, objects, as she is not an expert, and the objection is sustained. Rosie has nothing else to offer, and she walks shamefully from the courtroom. Witnesses for the respondent have taken time off from work and have waited in the lobby all day and are now required to come back for another day of testimony scheduled for February 22. February 22. 5.5 hours of testimony. 3 professional child care workers, Jackson's teacher, Debbie Tkach, Jackson's occupational therapist, Stacy Neal Weisman, and Savannah's Head Start home visitor, Stacy Smith, all testify to observing 0 signs of abuse and state that I am a devoted and caring parent. Judge William Abel, despite Jill Chipman's report, which recommends a change in custody schedule despite testimony from these professionals who are also mothers, and too many transitions are stressful for Jackson. Judge Abel orders that we continue the multiple daily exchanges as we have, that the custody schedule remains exactly as Robin wants it. I continue to be free daycare for her kids, our kids, while she works, limiting the kind of job I can secure. He also imputes me at full-time minimum wage job while ordering her to pay support in the amount of $403 monthly. He orders that $50,000 lease is community property, but did not say that Robin is entitled to half. And although Robin has represented herself during most of this duration, and my expenses have exceeded $20,000 for the last 3 attorneys, Judge Abel orders, as a parting afterthought, just as everyone is packing up his papers, that we each pay each other $2,000 in attorney's fees. Jokester. In the order after hearing, which Robin writes, she drafts that she may take the kids with her if she secures another job in another county. This is blatant contempt for the will and stated orders of Judge Abel. David Perrine objects, and she rewrites it. I retain a copy of her attempted deception. She also claims in her draft of the order that Judge Abel sanctioned me for violating the TRO and for lapsing in my fiduciary duty. The judge ordered no such thing. March 11, 2011. Some weeks after hearing, Robin tells me that I can keep the lease money as long as I don't open a claim at her office for child support. Of course, she was the director of child support services and the sole prosecuting attorney for all child support cases in the county for a number of years, certainly by that point. As long as I don't open up a claim at her office for child support. I failed to get this agreement in writing. Dumbass. Factually, she makes no further claim on the lease, and I opened no claim for child support. April 25th, 26th, 2011. I sleep next to Jackson's bed, hospital bed, and stay with him for several days while he undergoes a 48-hour-long EEG. He is determined to be, after the, we got the results a couple weeks later, he's 100% seizure-free. Surgery worked. It's a miracle. May 4th, 2011. Although Robin has so far steadfastly refused, she now concedes to allowing Tomatea Groves a second year leasing the Gulch. We all sign the contract she drafts. He gives me $10,000 up front, but I receive no further payments. Why? Well, August 20th, 2011, Tomatea Groves calls me to inform me that he has been arrested. He tells me that the sheriffs only looked for and found doctor recommendations after they destroyed plants, and then told him he could replant up to 2,500 square feet. I meet him a few days later. Ordinarily calm and confident, he is clearly distressed and refuses to undertake any more work that season. He is steadfast in maintaining his belief that Robin had something to do with his arrest, and we are both puzzled to appreciate or understand why my name, and not his and not Robin's, was on the arrest warrant. As I write this, January 2014, Tomatea's case is still pending in the Trinity County courts. I am forced to liquidate a Roth IRA that I had set up with some of my late father's estate funds in order to pay bills. I also start looking for a job. September 9. Although Robin is claiming that Jackson only defecates in his pants at my house, I find out that it goes on at her house too, and she reluctantly admits that this is so. Robin is refusing to share other vital information about the kids, and I seek for us to meet with Weaverville MFT Scott LaFine again. These sessions start today and continue every week for the next 3 months. Scott helps us to improve our communication with each other and to more effectively co-parent. During one session, Robin tells Scott, I remain prepared to do battle. October 26, 2010. I meet with Jeanette Beasley from Alpine House, a residential treatment home for chronic psychotics. She offers me a job, on call, at minimum wage, working graveyard shifts. I start working there. November 18, 2011. David Perrine is no longer practices family law, and I am his last family law client. I am reluctant to see him parting company with me, and on this day he is formally released as my attorney. January 9, 2012. I spent an hour with Sheriff Bruce Haney. Both kids and my mother are also in attendance. We're all sitting in his office together. We discussed the arrest of my tenant last year and see eye to eye on the value of cannabis personally and medically. I propose that I will have new tenants this year, and I seek to honor what we can both determine to be reasonable limits and plant numbers. I evaluate him as friendly, honest, and intelligent, and I believe he measures me similarly. January, so the conversation was like this. So how many plants are reasonable? Sheriff Haney says, if your tenants had 200 plants or less, I wouldn't have a problem with that, and they grow exactly 200. We'll talk about that later. January 12, 2012. After Jackson's IEP, Robin tells me that she has let go of her attorney, James Graff. She tells me that she owes her parents $8,000 for his legal fees. She says she is now willing to bury the hatchet and give me the 80-acre property if I let her keep the house she lives in, her retirement, and not to collect child support. I agree, and it just finally feels like the nightmare of conflict between us is over. March 3rd, 2012. I find new tenants for the 80 acres, and we formally agree on terms today. They will limit plant numbers, they will be left alone, and by December, they will have a completely successful season. March 28, 2012. Jackson has a very stressful 4-hour cognitive assessment at Stanford. He is measured as having an IQ of 60. March 22. My landlord for the last 2 years and the last 2 houses, Dana Ryan, has sold his house in Lewiston, and I am forced to move again. I find a house in Weaverville that is suitable, and I meet with my landlord to handshake a rental deal today. May 18th, 2012. Robin and I meet at family court. Still not divorced, and with issues still pending, we agree to resolve on our own, and for the first time in years, we are off the court calendar. Not for long. May 24, 2012. Michael Jarvis, Dick, local family law attorney and stated friend of Robin's, offers us 10 hours of pro bono work to help us reach a final dissolution of our marriage and come to agreement on all issues. We meet at Robin's office. Our starting point is that I keep the 80 acres, Robin keeps her retirement, the house she lives in, and that I ask for no support from her. The sticking point is that she wants me to stipulate that she can take the kids with her if she finds work in another county. I refuse this provision. July 9th, 2012. I enroll Savannah at Weaverville Parent Nursery, a preschool with 30-year, very respected and honored teacher Becky Helsley. I will be volunteering 1 full day per month, as all participating parents do, and Savannah will attend 4 days per week. Robin tells me that she will pay for half the tuition. She has yet to pay a dime. August 15th, 2012. Robin has become gravely ill. She has lost weight and is near emaciated. She undergoes very expensive antibiotic treatments. She tells me her boyfriend in Sacramento has broken up with her. Since burying the hatchet, we have been friendlier, and I invite her to my house for a conversation to catch up. This is the first time we sit face to face in a friendly way since before she tried to have me arrested in October 2009. August 16, 2012. Robin and I meet again at my house, and she confides that after our breakup, she spent a year with an online group doing sexual healing work. Meeting a few of these people in person, she then tells me that she began going to sex orgies in the Bay Area and that she developed a taste for wearing a leather Hitlerette type Nazi uniform, which she later actually shows me, and dragging men around by their top front teeth. She tells me that at one of these parties, she humiliated a man so intensely that he committed suicide the following day. She also tells me that although she does not find women sexually attractive, that she likes to dominate other women, and that she calls her subordinate office staff of 10 other women her wives. October 4th, 5th, 15th, 21st, and 2012. Robin and I meet at her house, at mine, at the ponds in Lewiston with the kids to enjoy and appreciate the children we have together. We are easygoing, trusting, and the kids clearly appreciate the security they feel with us not in conflict with each other. I tell her I still have loving feelings and want us to consider reconciliation. She tells me that her consideration hinges on me attending a weekend workshop in Harbin Hot Springs in which communication, intimacy, and love are explored in the nude among workshop participants. October 31st, 2012, Robin and I enjoy taking the kids Halloween trick-or-treating up and down Main Street businesses. November 12th, Robin returns from a job interview with a law firm in Roseville. She says she has the job if she wants it and would likely make at least $250,000 a year. Over the next few days, we discuss that she does not like change, that she is ambitious to be a judge. And with the local judge, James Woodward, retiring, her best chance is if she stays in Trinity County as Director of Child Support Services. We still discuss reconciliation, but she continues to see the boyfriend she has in Sacramento and privately confides to my mother that I am a fool to think we will ever get back together. December 17th, my mother, who has lived in Weaverville for the last 6 years and has become integral to the children's lives, flies back to New Jersey, from where she and her family originate, to live closer to my brother and his children. Savannah is nearly inconsolable. December 2012. Every other Friday when Robin has the kids, she invites me to family fun night. We have ice cream, watch movies together, go bowling together as a family. We enjoy a Christmas morning at my house the week before. The kids are as happy and as secure as I have ever known them to be. Just prior to year's end, Robin makes it clear that she has no interest in reconciliation with me. February 20, 2013, here we go. Sherry Osborne, whom I met online, drives up from the valley and spends an evening with me on a date. She asks more questions about Robin than she asks about me. She asks unusual questions that make me think she has met and knows Robin. She tells me that she lives in a motorhome in the Cottonwood area, and looking around at my house, she says she would love to live in a place like this. February 23rd, 2013, Sherry drives up from Cottonwood again for a second date. She's 42 years old, very attractive, and confides that she used to be a dancer stripper in her 20s. She says that she is very submissive and bisexual, and that she was once handled by other and older women when she had clients pay her for sex many years ago. March 1st, 2013. Sherry calls me while I'm eating dinner with my kids. She is stuck in her motorhome on the Buckhorn Summit and needs me to bring her some gasoline, as she has decided to move to Lewiston and enroll her 6-year-old son at Lewiston Elementary School. I bring my children and rescue her. We meet up the next day and drive out to the 80-acre cabin to have a campfire and marshmallows with my 2 children. She has parked her motor home in the parking lot at the Lewiston Moose Lodge and stays there. March 9. I again invite Sherry to the Gulch, and she brings her 6-year-old son, Joseph. We talk about introducing our kids to each other. March 16. Sherry and I continue to see each other, and today we introduce our kids. They get along very sweetly. Jackson's cognitive disability hampers him socially, but he engages with Joseph, and Joseph engages with him very naturally. It all seems too good to be true. We spend a lot of time together, and Sherry stays at my home frequently. Joseph sleeps on the couch, or sometimes in Savannah's bunk bed while she sleeps on the couch. And I offer her my truck so she can drive Joseph to school in Lewiston every morning. She eventually parks her motorhome in front of my house, and we cohabitate. That's March 16. April 17. Sherry leaves town in her motorhome. I call her on the phone that night, and she tells me that she went to HRN that day. Human Response Network is a local grant-funded agency that provides shelter for women victims of domestic violence, funding and support for child care and other community-based services and programs. I also used to work there in 2003 and 2004, HRN. She tells me that a woman staff person at HRN told her that I am a pedophile, more interested in her son than in her. Sherry says that she reported this to CPS and then fled to Redding's Moose Lodge parking lot. April 18th. That's the next day after this. I meet with Margie Lee, director of HRN. She used to be my supervisor, and we talk about what may or may not have been said or discussed with Sherry and why. Sherry tells me that this one person, whom she later identifies as Carrie, named me personally as an undocumented pedophile. And Margie objects that any talk Carrie would have had with anyone who came to our office would have been general and hypothetical and not specific. I discussed this with Robin, and Robin drafts a letter to HRN and suggests that I print it, sign it, and send it to Margie. The letter describes that I will be suing HRN for slander if Carrie does not offer an apology and unless other conditions are met. I modify Robin's language somewhat and then email the letter to Margie. I retain the original email from Robin. I convince Sherry to return, and she does. Parking her motorhome in front of my house, she and Joseph continue to stay in my home. Dumbass. May 1, 2013. Savannah invites her whole family to the open house at her school, and both Robin and Sherry and Joseph attend and mingle with other families. Robin is typically by herself on her smartphone the entire evening and makes no acquaintance whatsoever with Savannah's teacher, with any other families, or with any other members of Savannah's community. May 15th, 2013, and then we're getting ready to do part 3. May 15th, 2013. Sherry and I have an argument after the kids are in school, and I ask her to leave. She tells me that I can't kick her out of her house and pulls down her pants to pee on my floor. I pick her up by the elbow. She yells at me to let her go. I do. She then calls the sheriff to my home and accuses me of domestic violence. Deputy Mitchell, Detective Jeremy Amon, and Detective Brian Ward come. Sherry talks with Deputy Mitchell inside my home while the detectives detain me outside. Sherry later tells me that after she left my home that day, she went to HRN to try to get help securing a restraining order. She goes to the sheriff's office but is refused both times. Months later, after I secure Cynthia Angel as my attorney, I overhear Sherry's answer to a question that Cynthia asks Sherry on the telephone. Cynthia asks, "Did Robin encourage you or ask you to get a restraining order that day?" Sherry clearly answers yes, and I have documents from CPS to prove that. May 20th, 2013. Sherry comes to my house and visits while the kids are at school. She insists we walk up the street, not at my house. She tells me that there are people who are looking to get me, and that I should be very careful about what I do and say, and who I talk to. She gives no specifics, but tells me that she is very afraid for her son, that she's very afraid that her son may be taken away by CPS because she lives in a motorhome. I think that's the point where we're going to stop. Yep. Part 3. Hold on. I gotta go pee.